Welcome to This is Nashville with Jake Gomes, your real estate channel dedicated to all things Nashville, Tennessee. So today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. We're going to be talking about the city of Nashville as a whole and how it compares to Atlanta, Georgia. See, Nashville and Atlanta are only a few hours away from each other, and they're two of the largest metros in the southeast region of the United States. There are a lot of similarities between the two cities, but then there are a lot of differences as well. So we're going to be diving into a few of the differences between the cities. So maybe you're thinking about making one your home, maybe you're thinking about making the other your home. Hopefully this will help you make that decision and prepare yourself for the move. So the very first thing is population density. So it's interesting because Nashville itself actually has more people than Atlanta, Georgia. However, the population density is over 2 times as much in Atlanta versus Nashville. So that means more people in Nashville in general, but they're more tightly packed in Atlanta. That makes a lot of sense if you're familiar with Nashville as well as Atlanta, because Atlanta feels very much like a traditional metro, whereas Nashville feels a little bit more like a southern town where things are a little bit more spread out. Of course, we do have our downtown, which is hustling and bustling, but things are a little bit more spread out. Another one of the differences between Nashville and Atlanta is unemployment. So Atlanta has 3 times as much unemployment as Nashville does. So something to take into mind when you're thinking about jobs and relocation. Another key difference is the schooling systems. So the universities, and they actually have a similar number of universities, where in Nashville we have 16 universities and colleges, where Atlanta has 21 universities and colleges. So pretty similar there, but Atlanta, given that it's a little bit more of a booming metro, a little bit busier metro, it makes sense that there are a few more universities within the Atlanta frame. When you're looking at the geography between the two different cities, there are some similarities, but there are some differences as well. So Nashville is situated in Middle Tennessee. So to the east of Nashville, you have the Appalachian Mountains a few hours away. So it takes you about 2 hours to get to the heavily mountainous areas. But we also have a few mountains and hills towards the west side of Nashville in the Cheatham County area, versus Atlanta, which actually sits at the foothill of the Appalachian Mountains. One interesting thing about Atlanta is that it has the highest elevation out of the major cities east of the Mississippi River. Safety is a big concern when it comes to an individual relocating. Maybe they're moving by themselves, maybe they're moving with their family. Safety is, of course, a major concern when you're looking at metros. So if you look at the safety levels between Nashville and Atlanta, Nashville is actually twice as safe as Atlanta. Now, when it comes to professional sports teams, Nashville has 3 professional sports teams, whereas Atlanta has 4. So here in Nashville, we have the Tennessee Titans. We also have the Nashville Predators for our professional hockey team, and we have our newly founded Nashville Soccer Club, which is our professional soccer team. Now, in Atlanta, they have a football team as well, the Atlanta Falcons. They also have a professional basketball team, the Hawks. They have a professional baseball team, which is the Braves, and they have their own soccer club, which is Atlanta United. Now, when it comes to the different music scenes between the two cities, I think this is actually one of the most important and iconic differences between the two cities. So if you look here in Nashville, it is no secret we are home to country music. We are the country music capital of the entire world. Many of the biggest country artists not only came from Nashville, but many of them moved to Nashville if they weren't originally from the area, and many of them reside here now, and actually many of them actually have bars named after them on Broadway Street in Nashville. Now, if you look at Atlanta, it actually has a long history of blues, but I'd say that what Atlanta is most known for now is hip-hop. It is one of the biggest hip-hop scenes throughout the entire country. So if you're a little bit more of a country fan, Nashville might make sense for you, but if you like a little bit of more of the blues, or you're more of a hip-hop fan, Atlanta might be the move. When it comes to the different art scenes between the two cities, they are fairly comparable. There are numerous art museums throughout Nashville and Atlanta. Here in Nashville, we have the Frisk Museum, the Lane Miller Museum, the Country Music Hall of Fame, Nashville Parthenon, the National Museum of African American Music. Now, in Atlanta, they have their fair bit of art and museums as well. They have the World of Coca-Cola, the Jimmy Carter Museum, the Atlanta History Museum, the College Football Hall of Fame, Swan House, Fernbank Museum, and multiple others. Now, when it comes to the food scenes between the two cities, there are some similarities, but then there are some differences as well. So given that both Nashville and Atlanta are in the South, they're both known for Southern comfort food. Nashville particularly is known for its Nashville hot chicken, which is super famous, and many other cities in the country adopt the Nashville hot chicken as an option on their menus. Now, Atlanta has been a growing metro for a little bit longer than Nashville. It started booming a little bit sooner, and it has a little bit more of a multicultural and diverse community. So there is a little bit more of diversity in Atlanta versus Nashville when it comes to the food scene. Now, that's not to say Nashville isn't catching up. Almost every single week we see a different restaurant popping up in Nashville, and not all of them are Southern comfort foods. A lot of them are different steakhouses and different cuisines from different ethnicities and different backgrounds. Both Nashville and Atlanta both have zoos, but Atlanta has the Atlanta Aquarium. So they do have an aquarium where Nashville doesn't have that right now. Now, when it comes to home prices between the two cities, they actually are fairly comparable, but Atlanta housing is slightly cheaper than Nashville. The average home price is about $20,000 to $30,000 less in Atlanta versus Nashville. So here in Nashville, we are growing rather quickly. Atlanta has a little bit more of an opportunity to get a little bit more of a deal. So overall, the differences between the two cities, they're both fantastic cities. I love Nashville. I chose to move to Nashville years ago because I had been here multiple times and fell in love with it. I had also been to Atlanta. So they're both amazing cities, but me personally, Nashville takes it home. So some key differences between the two cities, where Nashville wins in terms of the amount of space that you have because you're not as congregated in Atlanta. We also have a few lakes close by to Nashville, Old Hickory Lake, as well as Percy Priest Lake, very close to the city, so you do have those options. I think when it comes to live music, no place is better than Nashville, Tennessee. Almost every bar, every restaurant that you walk into has some of the most incredible musicians that you could ever hear. So live music, I think, is a huge factor in why I personally call Nashville home. It's a little bit safer here in Nashville. Traffic is definitely a little bit better here in Nashville. Atlanta famously has some of the worst traffic in the entire country. And then the other thing that's important to know about Nashville is that Tennessee does not have a state income tax. So your money's going to go a little bit further here in Nashville. Now, I do think that there are some pros to being in Atlanta. Namely, they do have an extra sports team. They do have a little bit bigger of an art scene. They have a few more colleges. They also have the Beltline in Atlanta, which is a loop that runs through the city. It's walkable, and there are a ton of bars, shops, restaurants, breweries, parks, all throughout that Beltline. So I do think that that is pretty special. Hiking is a little bit more accessible in the Atlanta area, and housing affordability is a little bit more affordable. So overall, Nashville and Atlanta are fantastic cities. Personally, I like Nashville better, which is why I chose to call it home. So if you want to know more about Nashville, if you want to know more about the different aspects of living here, if you want to know more about the incredible real estate that we have here in Nashville, please call, text, or email.